Hi everyone, I'm Kristin Emery, and I'm one of the co-curators of the Newberry Library's exhibit on Mike Royko that's currently up through September 28th. I'm joined today by my colleague Matt Rutherford, who is our curator of genealogy and local history, and we're here today to conduct a little investigation about one of the items that's included in the exhibit. So the item in question is a coat rack that was in Mike Royko's office, and the story that he always told about the coat rack is that it had previously belonged to Carl Sandburg, the famed poet, who also happened to work at the Chicago Daily News between 1917 and 1932. As I was researching the exhibition, I was really interested in this story and kind of learning, trying to figure out is what sort of level of truth there is in it. I realized very quickly on being realistic that without a photograph of Carl Sandburg sitting at his desk with the coat rack prominently in the background, that this would be a pretty hard thing to prove. But I did think that there were some ways that we could at least figure out whether or not it was possibly true. And so this is where I've brought in Matt, who's an expert at conducting local history research. The only other fact that we knew was there's a small metal plate affixed to one of the feet of the coat rack that specifically said Spitzer's Office Furniture House, located at 173 West Lake Street, Chicago, Illinois. Matt, why don't you please talk us through what you did with these two small facts and what you learned?
This is a fun project. We don't often get to research the provenance of coat racks here. The first place I turned to was the ProQuest version of the Chicago Tribune, because that one's fully digitized and we have access to it through our subscription here at the library. And I researched the keywords Spitzer, the name, and office, assuming that they might show up under office furniture, office furniture manufacturing, something like that. And I had some success. The first thing I found was a classified ad from 1924 in the Tribune that does show Spitzer's in operation on Lake Street, 173 to be precise, right downtown. And when you know that, factor in that the Daily News offices were at 15 North Wells, you realize this was just a handful of blocks away. So easily could have been a supplier of supplies to the Daily News. Another result that came up was also promising. It was a 1947 classified ad. A Spitzer's, again, now at 160 Lake Street, either moved down the block or expanded their footprint. But the cool thing about that ad is that it had in quotes their tagline, since 1916. So got some clues here that, in fact, Spitzer's was in operation from 1916 until at least 1947.
We're in the window.
We're in the window, exactly. But as a thorough researcher, I wanted to leave no stone unturned. And so I looked a little bit further, and we love censuses and genealogy. So I looked at the U.S. federal census to see if I can find any tie-in here. Specifically, I looked for anyone named Spitzer who had any connection to the furniture business or retail business. And I found a couple of results. In 1930, there's a Saul Spitzer, listed as a finisher in a furniture shop. He's a proprietor living on the north side with his wife and two children. Then in 1940, the 1940 census, and this is on Ancestry, our subscription to Ancestry, there's a Sam Spitzer who shows up living at the same address, same family members, listed as an office manager at a furniture shop. So I think that contributes to our body of evidence, growing evidence here, that in fact Spitzer's was a going concern at the time that Sandburg was writing. And I was able to find a display ad in a 1949 Yellow Page directory, classified business directory, for Spitzer's. And it confirms everything that we have seen elsewhere. Established 1916, address on 160 West Lake Street at that time period. And so from this evidence, I feel pretty comfortable saying Spitzer's was around. Spitzer's could have been a supplier to the Daily News. The coat rack could have been in Sandburg's office. But what I wonder, if one were to continue this further, and we don't have the resources or the time right now, but what you might do is look at, number one, their own writings. I mean, they may have mentioned, what floor they were on, what view they had, a pesky office mate, something, anything that might give some clues. Look at their own writings, look at biographies, autobiographies or just biographies of them that may mention something about where they were located in the Daily News building. And then for Sandburg, UIC actually has a large collection of Sandburg papers as well. So you could look at that collection. Finally, the ultimate prize might be in the Daily News' own records. And the Daily News was ultimately acquired by what we know today as the Sun-Times Media Group. Those records are not open to the public, but researchers sometimes have ways, and so maybe somebody could do a little bit of gumshoeing and get access to those.
Find the office directory or something.
Exactly.
If anyone has any connections, let us know.
Exactly. It'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Matt, for helping us do a little deep dive. This is giving you a sense of how to conduct a little bit of research on a single object. So thank you, Matt, and come by and see the coat rack for yourselves here at the Newberry Library before the exhibit closes.